Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks, today the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini review, and today we're talking about the Loop and the two, well, I don't want to call them mini expansions, but small expansions that are available, both being Fauxzilla and the Fur Brigade, though I'm focusing more on Fur Brigade right now. Just very quickly, because it might be a little bit confusing if you look in the description, I purchased my own copies of the Loop and Fauxzilla, and Pandasaurus was kind enough to send me Fur Brigade. So some of the stuff I'm talking about I bought, some of it was provided to me. In any event, what the Loop is the Loop is a pandemic-style game. What I mean by that, and I've said it a lot on the channel, if it's your first time here, what I mean by that is it is a game where you have an objective, and as you play through the Loop, there's various different objectives that you might have. The basic one is there's various goals around the board that require you to do something specific, maybe move a clone and get rid of a time clone in different areas, perform a loop in different areas, which I know that means nothing to you right now, but whatever it is, do several of those before Dr. Faux, the bad guy, ruins all of time. Because ostensibly he is this time-traveling villain that's traveling around through the different eras, into the future, into the past, and our current era, and messing things up by leaving little time clones of himself around to do things. And you're part of the time agency. Each of the different characters you can play has a different unique power that goes with it, and a different set of starting cards. And what's going to be happening is each round, you're going to start the round out by drawing one of Dr. Faux's cards. You can turn what era he time travels to, and he's going to start messing up. And what happens is you're going to put out a new time clone or more time clones, and then you're going to drop rift cubes into the little thing in the middle of the board, and it's going to spit out these cubes, which represent him messing up the era that he is in and the eras before and after it. And anytime you ever get 4 rift cubes out onto the board, it will destroy that era for all time, and if 4 eras get destroyed, and if too many eras get destroyed, you have lost the game. Now, what you're going to be doing is moving your time agent around through these different eras, and there's lots of ways to do it. You can use the green cubes, the energy that's on the board, to move around. You can flip your player board over, which represents the one move that you can do for free, and you have different cards. Most characters are going to have 3 cards they get to play each turn, though one of the new ones in the Fur Brigade actually gets to play 4. And these cards are going to do different things. For the most part, they're either going to be putting energy on the board, they're going to be removing rift cubes from the board, or they're going to be pushing these little clones around. And these clones are going to make more rift cubes drop. And to get rid of them, you have to send them back to the era they originated in. If you send them back to that era, a paradox is created and they pop out of existence. And so that's mostly what your cards are going to be doing. However, the real meat of the game is, well, one, you're going to be getting more artifacts as you go through. There'll be artifacts that get placed out on the board at the beginning of every turn, and if you end in that era, you can pick up one of those cards, put it on top of your draw pile. But the core of the game is really around doing these loops. And what you're going to do is, if you're in an era that has an energy, you're going to spend one of those energies. The second time you do it, you're going to spend 2 energy. The third time you do it, you spend 3 energy. You're going to get to pick a subset of your cards, and each card has in the top corner a different symbol. And you can pick one of the symbols. So there are 4 different symbols. If it's just the all black symbol, then you can't do that. But the other 3, you pick one, and then you can reset those cards, because you can use each card once per turn for free. But you can reset all of those cards and use them again to keep messing around with what's going on. And that's kind of how the core of the game works. With the Fauxzilla, it adds a big Fauxzilla that you can put out there, and it will move around and do all the kind of stuff it does, and it adds a couple more characters with more cards that comes with it. But I do want to dive a little bit into the Fur Brigade, because for me, that's one that actually really changes some of the mechanics. Now, to be clear, Fauxzilla adds new scenarios, and the new scenarios that come with the game, as you play through those, it adds different levels of difficulty and different things that you can do. But what Fur Brigade does is it adds 2 new characters, which is great, with different starting powers, with different meeples and different cards, but it also adds a new resource, these black cubes. And these actually really change the game. You're going to use some of the new cards to be able to put these cubes out onto the board. But when they're out on the board, what's going to be happening is you're going to be using those cubes to either target some of the new abilities that are there, or just boop, pop around the board. And so it actually expands the options that you have of what you can do when you play, when you use those cubes. Now, all of that put together, what do I like about this game? And I'm going to talk about the game mostly as a whole. I love this game. To me, this is one of the absolute best of those pandemic style games. Co-op, working together, putting out the fires that are going on with all the clones everywhere in the rift cubes while you're solving the problem working together. And because it's relatively easy to understand what's going on, but if you're looking at your own cards, there's enough that you can do that it makes quarterbacking a little bit more difficult, which I appreciate. It has a lot of different difficulty levels. Even just the basic intro scenario is a good challenge, and they get more and more interesting and more challenging the more as you go through the different scenarios. The different characters play very differently, are very unique. I love that. All of it I love, and I will say I really like the Fur Brigade just with the addition of that black cube. I think it's fantastic. I love the way that changes the game. I also think that the official solo mode, now usually in games like this I don't play official solo variants. What I usually wind up doing is I just play multi-handed. But Peter from One Stop Co-op Shop, he encouraged me to actually really try the official solo mode, where you take multiple characters, but you put everything into one deck, and you start drawing cards out, and when one character gets X amount of cards, then you activate that one. But as you're adding more cards to your deck, you're getting more and more options, because you draw one, you can put it wherever you want. And I think actually the solo mode works fantastically, as does playing the game at 2, 3, and 4 players. All of that I think works really well. I love the card play. I love that the core of the game, it's very simple. What you're doing, you're moving clones around, you're taking off cubes, and you're moving yourself around using other cubes. But the variety in what the different cards, the artifacts, do are huge. And so the way you're going to accomplish things, there are so many options and so many ways to feel like you're smart. It's just fantastic. I love, like, as you can see, I really like this game. There are very few others of these pandemic style games I will keep coming back to. We're actually working on a review for another one coming up down the road. Haven't gotten there yet. The last thing I want to highlight is the art. I adore the art. It's just, I love the style. I love the tongue-in-cheekness of it. You look at the artifacts, they're just funny with what you're playing with, what's coming from another era. The way they work is a blast. The characters are great. They're unique. The art is amazing on this game. I love it. I just adore it. Everything about the artwork is just fantastic. So, what are my quibbles with the game? And I really only have two, and you can argue that one is not really substantive. And I'll start with that one. I just said how much I love the way these characters look in the art, but what comes in the game are just big, awesome-looking, shaped-wise, colored meeples. You don't have the art on it, and it just makes me so sad, because I love the art. Luckily, I found an aftermarket guy who does stickers and sent me stickers, Levity Games. His stickers that he does for stuff are just fantastic. And so I've gotten some of those stickers and I put them on there, and it just makes me more happy. But that has nothing to do with gameplay. The only real quibble that I have is because of the way the cube drop works, it is possible that you just get yourself into a position where luck is against you and you draw out of the bag the new clones and they all go into the same era, and that happens to be the era that Dr. Faux moves to, though you do have an idea of what's coming, so you can try to prevent it. You know where he's been before and where he could go, but you can pull out the cubes, you can drop them in, and every now and then they all come out the same place and blow up an era that you're in, which maybe you're really close to finishing, or maybe that kills the game, or it could be the very first turn of the game. It can happen that suddenly bad luck happens and boom, you've blown up one of the eras. Now, it doesn't happen often, but it can. And I know when I was playing with my wife, that happened where we were really close and that happened, and it was a real turnoff for her. And that's, you can't argue that. You can't argue that, because it is a very hard game. And to have something like that happen might just rub you the wrong way. But that's it. I think this is an excellent game. For my money, it is the best game that Pandasaurus has out there. And as I said, if you like a co-op game that is hard, that is challenging, that does a pretty good job of keeping quarterbacking from going on. There's every game I've played that's been a lot of, well, if you can do this, well, here's something I can do. What can you do to help this? Because these are the problems that we have. And it almost like Spirit Island that way, though I'm not saying this is nearly as complex as Spirit Island, but it has that feel, is that you have so much that you can do on your own. It kind of cuts back on some of the quarterbacking. And I mean, that's it. Kind of a lackluster end to this video, but it's fantastic. I love it. I have played it so many times. It came in, I believe it was my number 5, I think, most played game of the year, all last year. I mean, I play a lot of games, but it kept coming back to the table. And again, like, I wasn't even reviewing this necessarily. I kept saying, oh, I need to do this, but I just like it. So, and I think for a lot of people that says a lot. But anyhow, there you have it, folks. That is the Loop plus the Fauxzilla expansion plus the Fur Brigade expansion. I think if this game sounds up your alley, just absolutely grab the Loop. I think if you're not sure on which of the expansions to get, I would go with Fur Brigade before the other because because the real core value in the Fauxzilla is the extra scenarios, I think. And you have some really good scenarios in the core game to start with, but I think that extra resource that you get in Fur Brigade actually really takes the game up a notch. I cannot believe I'm saying little black cubes takes the game up a notch, but boy, does it ever. In any event, there you have it, folks. That is the Loop with all those expansions. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.